It's been a few days here. We are back actually with a draft today rather than some gameplay. You might remember about 10 or so days ago we had the lovely Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Commander Legend set up here on draft, and today we're looking at something completely different. We're looking at Cliques of Nylin by StasisBot here. So this is a set that I drafted many months, almost a year ago. It has been a while since I've touched this set. Now, going into these sets, I like knowing a little bit about what I'm doing, but I also like being pretty surprised. So while we wait for players to drift in little by little, what we're going to do is read out a little bit of the blurb about this set. We're going to check out a few of the cards from the card pool and the mechanics, but we're going to try and stay relatively blind going in and just kind of let the draft naturally guide us to our destination. So we're hoping to provide StasisBot with some feedback, as well as just, have a grand old time. So Cliques of Nylin is a standard-sized shard set that takes place on the plane of the same name. It focuses on the clique's political philosophies as they compete in a grand election. So the set code for this is CNY. It is a 3-color faction set, but unlike its canon counterparts, such as Alara, Tarkir, or Capenna, it forgoes faction mechanics. Instead, it will employ Strixhaven's faction design philosophy, wherein each clique interacts with a set of 5-color set mechanics in different ways to form the clique's individual identities. It also hopes to enable more cross-pollination between the cliques than previous faction sets to feed into a more natural 5-color archetype. Checking in real quick here on the draft archetypes. So we have allied color archetypes. In white-blue, we have vigilance with counters and counterspells. We have blue-black flying creatures to the graveyard. We have black-red menace and sacrifice. Red-green trample and 4+ power matters. And green-white lifelink with heroic. Ability inclusive, of course. So keywords and then a little more of a focus. Now moving down into the individual shards, we have Esper colors are focused on Surveil. Blue, black, red, so Grixis is focused on minions. Black, red, green, so that would be our Jund, is focused on treasures. Red, green, white, Naya is focused on power matters. And finally, green, white, blue, Bant is simply focused on counters. Now we have a few cards here that have been shared, but we are going to pop in instead here on the website. So for those of you who have never been here before, this is draftmancer.com, an absolutely phenomenal tool for both canon and custom drafters. There are so many different ways of using this interface. You can do drafts, you can do sealed, you can do 2-player custom drafts. There's tons of different formats. And of course, after the draft, all the data is saved in your game logs. So honestly, it's the kind of site that I hope sees more use in the coming years. We can see that we're at 5 out of 8 players, so it definitely looks like we're going to fire today. So real quick, let's pop open here in the card pool. I'm going to not look at any of the rares. Instead, I want to just shift all the way down here to the commons, because there is a little card in the reminder slot here that I wanted to take a look at that talks about the different cliques and their token abilities. So, for example, it'll work great because Senate Hall's right above, and we'll need to look at that as well. So the Esper colors, which is Tiril. Here, Grixis is called Hazak. We've got Vishanki, we've got Penrath, and Silliman. So each one of them has an ability where you would pledge, where you create a token, and, well, if you've already controlled a clique, instead you activate the pledge without paying its cost. So, for example, here you would have Surveil 2. For this one, it would be a 2/2 colorless minion creature token with Decade is created. This one would create a treasure token. This one would give a creature +2/+2 until end of turn. And this one would tap a target untapped creature, and you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. So if you remember the archetypes that I read out a little earlier, a lot of these work naturally with those archetypes. So Surveil, minions, treasures, power matters, and then counters. Checking real quick here, we have a cycle of these common lands that seem to be in a dual land slot, which is great for fixing. I don't want to look too much. They all seem to be the same, however. So what we're going to do real quick, just see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. Whoa, there we go. This one card. So these obviously come into play tapped. They are tapped duals, and they have the ability pay for pledge, activate only as a sorcery. So you create any white or blue clique token. And then if you already control a clique, however, you can instead activate its pledge without paying its cost. So In this case, the pledge, I'm assuming, would be something like this. So we could pay 4, and we could do one of these abilities as long as we controlled a clique of the matching color. So, of course, StasisBot will correct us at the end if I am completely off, but this is how I understand it. Where first you have to pledge, and then afterwards you can start using that. So we will see. We will see how this goes. So good to know that we have dual lands in that little bottom slot. Obviously, it's a gold heavy set, so we can see we have some gold and some hybrid here at the bottom, as well as some tricolor commons. I can see we have a few other fixing lands here. And what's really nice is we just get a cute little overview of the kind of art that we are looking for. This is a really nice looking modern futurist. I'm digging what I'm seeing so far here. I'm seeing a lot of cool flavorful art. Again, I am not reading any of them now. I want to go in pretty much blind, and this is what I wanted to find. This is what our packs are going to look like. We're going to have a rare, 3 uncommons, 10 commons, the dual for that total of 15, and then of course the reminder slot, just so that people know how that mechanic works. Gonna check in real quick on the draft. We are 6 out of 8 players right now. Hopefully we can get 2 more. If not, chances are StasisBot's gonna add in a bot or 2, and then we'll be able to launch right in. So that should be fine. At the same time, I realize that I have completely forgotten to tell people that I am streaming. So I will do that real quick. Let's just do that real fast on my other screen, and therefore we can get ourselves started. I'm really looking forward to drafting and to doing more of these. I feel like this is an under... I don't know quite what to say. It's a... like, we draft absolutely all the time, and I'm really sad that we just simply don't get the chance to share these drafts. So here we go. Let's copy it up. I'm going to go and throw it down here in the channel, just so that, you know, a few people can... hopefully this works. Nope, that did not work. Give me a second. Just trying to get... There we go. I realized that, you know, some people might want to watch this as I do it live rather than later. So let's do that right here. Going live, drafting cliques. And there we go. Maybe we get 1 or 2 people. We'll see. It would be nice to have at least 1 or 2 friends hanging around. I don't assume we're going to have much in the way of chat at the moment. But just in case, I'm just going to move my little chat box somewhere a little safer. Maybe like in the corner here. Then we are going to lock it. All right, pretty excited here. I think 6 out of 8 is going to be the most that we're going to get. I almost feel like peeking in a little more, but all right, let's do it real quick. Let's look at one mythic. Okay, because this was the first one. We have Tomer, Figurehead President. He's a colorless mythic. 3 mana for a 5/5. All right, there's probably going to be a little downside. There it is. Tomer can't attack or block unless there are 5 colors among permanents you control. All right, so we're going to need to have all 5. That's not great, but whenever another permanent enters the battlefield in your control, for each of its colors, you get to draw a card unless you control another permanent of that color. So you don't have to use them for the attack or block. You can definitely just use them for the other ability. That's actually really interesting. All right, I think we just got a 7th player, which probably means we're firing momentarily here. And we're at 8. That's good news. That means we're going to start momentarily. I'm so excited. Okay, well, normally we do ready checks. I guess this time, no. Just let a StasisBot know in the future. All right, here we go. Let's just make sure we have no timer. Okay, phew. Sometimes a timer happens and it doesn't give us the chance to look around. Of course, to make sure that, you know, people don't hate us, we're not going to read every single card. All right, I'm going to scan over most of the cards here. We're going to use our quick searching eyes to look at stuff that looks important. So right off the bat, haste 2/2 for 2 whenever a player casts a spell. If no mana from a basic source was spent to cast it, it'll deal 2 damage. 2/2 haste body is alright. Not necessarily the thing that will be the strongest here. We've got a vigilance 3/2 for 3 whenever it attacks. We get to teach an attacking creature with lesser power vigilance. So teach is a new mechanic. You put a vigilance counter on it because we're teaching it vigilance, and if it already has it, instead we put a +1/+1 counter. I quite like this, especially because it gives vigilance, it untaps, and then it grows. So this could be something that I would flag right here. I'm not necessarily looking at picking up gold right off, especially not a triple gold right off pack 1. We got cards like Codename Spider here that enter the battlefield, mill some cards, and whenever 1 or more cards are put into our graveyard from our library, we can always return up to 1 of those cards to our hand. Very cool card, and this is a double strike 2/3 for 4 with upside that untaps. Again, very nice things. I'm not sure I want to launch myself right into a 3 cost. We have some Surveil. Looks like decent removal, especially because it's instant. We have, again, Teaching Vigilance draws. This is nice. 3 damage to any target, but instead we can pay red, but we have to use non-land sources, so we'd have to crack a treasure. Hired Shot is also very good. Now, this is like amazing removal. Definitely doesn't put me in any other location than maybe treasure. I'm kind of more interested here in the teach. Obviously, Hired Shot is phenomenal removal. Like, you would not be wrong for first picking that here. Traumatic Recollection, mill cards and destroy. That's great. Starred Pupil. Okay, we've seen this card before. This is a reprint, I believe, from Strixhaven. A nice flying 3/3. Lets you tap or untap. That's very good, actually. 1/3 lets you pay life to sack and then pledge, so a much cheaper way of pledging. So we get any of the black Clique tokens, and then afterwards, if we already controlled it, we could activate the pledge without paying its cost. So I'm assuming that the Clique token itself has the 4 and then pay. That's where I'm at, and then we can simply get it for free if we pay this alternative cost. So things to keep in mind. We've got a big booster here, and it has to be blocked. We can teach something trample. All right, I think I am going to go into this counters. We'll start with this. If ever we see a lot of the red come back, we might lean into that. But I'm just interested in trying out this deck. Thankfully, there are some watermarks, which is nice because we can kind of keep an eye on what's what. So, yeah. I think in a world, Hired Shot would be my first pick, but I really want to pick Bureau Mentor. All right, next pack. Another Hired Shot. Wow. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. So Ferris Foreman here is a 4 mana. You get a 0/0 colorless robot with 2 counters on it when it enters the battlefield, and it's equal to the number of artifacts we control. Seems great in that treasure deck. We have a draw 2 cards, and if white was spent to cast it, gain 2 life. If black was spent to cast it, each opponent loses 2 life. So this would be bringing us more into the Esper. As we said, Esper is Surveil, or, you know, there's a Vigilance, counters and counter spells, flying creature. So there's a little world where I could see myself picking that. Approval. Oh, that's new. X's number of colors among permanents you control. That makes sense. I like how that, you know, has a great flavor here for if you know controlling all the different colors. Enchanting a land. Pledge. Sweet. Adds mana. Targets of spells you control untap it. So that's if we're playing all those pump in the attacks. That looks fine whenever you attack. Very interesting. Death Touch 1/3 for 3 is never bad, and the fact it creates treasure tokens looks pretty good. This is another pledge. We got some Surveil in white, or sort of a, you know, supernatural stamina type cards. Removal that costs less for our colors. Some fixing, pledge, then pledge again. Very, very interesting. That lets us pull off one of those. This is a very cool card. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here is, I know this was our first pick, but that's the second Hired Shot, and which means people are probably going to start passing me, and I am more than happy to take that kind of removal if that's what I'm being passed here. Okay. We are very open again. Blue and red, nothing's telling us where we're going right now. I'm going to be looking for really taking the strongest cards out of every pack, and this one wants me to spend mana produced by non-land sources, so treasures or mana dorks or any other thing that can produce some mana. And we're gonna again keep in mind that that's the kind of artifact where kind of archetype, where we want to be in Jund. Obviously, we're playing that blue here. So the blue, the red, black could be minions. We could be playing a minion deck. I don't believe this itself is a minion. Nope, it's an insect scout. We've got some artifact stuff going on here, which is lovely. Co-conspirators. Let's get a few new cards while we have some chances. So thankfully, some people are holding up packs, so we're not too covered. Can be blocked by creatures with lesser power. All right. Gets +X versus the greatest power among other creatures. Scourge of Capitalism just simply fights a creature and then deals excess damage. That's a really big top end. If we were thinking of moving into treasures, I could see myself going into this sort of big ramp here. We're getting a lot of the green and red, which is trample and 4 power matters. I could see myself leading into that. Some stuff here is all nice. I'm gonna give you guys the chance to, pause for if this is you're watching on the YouTube videos, because if we read every single card, people are gonna start getting a little upset with us. But I'm just quickly browsing over. So I'm seeing, okay, I think I'm willing to give a shot to moving into here. That Scourge of Capitalism looks interesting. If we can find a way to ramp up to that, this is just absolutely decimate. Hits the greatest power or tied, and then excess damage is dealt to their controller. So if they don't control anything huge, that's going to hit them like a truck. Exile top X cards of your library. X is the power until the end of your next turn. We can play those cards, and it's an instant for red. That's not horrible. We've got mana of any color. This would be great for our hired stuff. And again, that's ramp. Whenever we cast a multicolored spell, we untap it. I actually really like that more than Martyrize here. Test subject alpha enters with counters and trample. We can move those counters around. We've got some pledge. Here we've got the Naya power matters, which could also be something we could go into. Target creature must be blocked this turn, and basic land cycling is very nice. I actually think I'm going to pick up the mana harvesters here if we are leaning now into this. I'm just going to tuck this Bureau Mentor away for just a second. Oh, something new. Policies. Haven't seen this before. Once a turn as a sorcery, you mark a condition as complete, and when all are complete, transform it. When it enters the battlefield, you just simply draw 2, discard a card, and then 3 times a creature card or a creature token was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. We can mark them as complete. And then eventually it'll turn into authoritarianism, where creatures you don't control get -1/-0. Creatures you control get +1/+0. Capital Maglev is a massive vehicle that you can crack treasures to make it go. We have some more pledges in the trample field, which again, I believe trample was in the red-green bracket, kind of where we're going. Pledge in the red-green area. We've got create treasure tokens, and we've got kind of liking this obstinate voter here. Not sure the vehicle is where I want to be first. And I'm not sure that I am the Vishanki ambassador. So basic land cycling, though, is always very nice. I actually think I'm going to go here, pick up this pledge so that we can start generating treasures and getting up to our top end and using it on cards like Hired Shot. Not that I think Hired Shot is coming back to us, but, it would be great. Invest. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, we get a treasure token, and if it would die, instead, sacrifice invest, and we return that creature to its owner's hand. I quite like that. Though I think I prefer here the Penwrath Ambassador as a 5/2 for 5 that when it enters the battlefield, a creature must be blocked this turn if able. Then target creature can't block. This seems kind of more along what we're doing. But more importantly, 1 green basic land cycling is probably more along the stuff that we want. Obviously, we are passing a lot of this nice black minion cards going around here. But I think this is what we want. I'll go with this. Alright, what do we have here? Whenever equipped creature attacks, we pledge and it gives +2. This is actually not horrible. If you sacked, okay. We're not quite in the sack deck yet. And when we cast it, you may copy it. So it gives 2 things +2/+2. Not what I'm looking for either. It could be simply Public Plaza, if we think this is where we're going. Of course, the pledgeability on it is fantastic for getting that later in the game. Though, thinking about it, this seems perfectly playable, and it seems like a very easy way of doing these things. So, yeah. Let's go with the Declaration Portium. What do we got here? Discovery seems very sideboard-like, which it's nice that you draw a card and gain life if you popped a token. Still think I'm not going to spend some early picks. I think I'm just going to take Martyrize here, which we saw earlier. Wow, it's funny how our first pack has come back to us and none of these got picked, but I will happily take Urban Twin Motors here. As much as I like the Teach Target Creature Trample, I actually think that now that we're leaning into this color pair, we want to pick this up. So this is the Power Matters. We're going to want to turn things big. So this is where we can start picking things up like Mutinous Inciter. Whenever it attacks, it gives creatures +2/+0 and trample. Kind of a bit on the top end. I'm going to look for more things at the 2 and 3 slot, or I'm going to hope to see more things like International Development, Treasure Token Makers. Obviously, Pledge Then Pledge Again would be amazing with the Treasure Token creation. You know, it would be create 2 treasures, draw a card, but it's not really in our colors right now. I'm more than happy to let other people pick up those strong black and those blue cards. I'm perfectly happy with where we are. Not sure, of course, that I'm playing Martyrize. And real quick, I'm just going to set us to 2 rows so we can see our creature count. That's actually a pretty decent start. Only a few cards here, and I'm very happy that we ended up taking Hired Shot. Of course, I wish I had a second one. I'm not surprised that it didn't come back. It is a common. Hopefully we will find a few others. It would be nice to see a few rares, but it looks like the rares have all been snatched up. So packs are slowly coming our way. Like I said, international developments would be great to see. We're not really, I think, playing Anomalous Discovery. I think at this point, I'm not unhappy to play a Ferris Foreman. We don't have a lot of artifacts, but like by itself, it's a 2/2 because it counts itself in the one it makes. That makes a 2/2 with counters. You know, that's not horrible. I can dig it. Obviously, I like this card for a bit, and one of the reasons I'll call it out is that, you know, the red +1 could be relevant for our Power Matter. The reason I'm less big, even though this is Pledge, kind of like what we want to do, 5 mana, we're already a bit starting to get glutted here. I'd rather start taking up a few 4-drops, and Ferris Foreman seems like an easier card to slot in, and if we can find more ways to produce treasures, we can actually make Ferris Foreman quite a bit bigger. Still not sure about Martyrize here if this is what we're using, but the fact that it's instant speed and you may play those cards until the end of your next turn gives me hope that it'll be a bit more playable. So second one, I'll think about it. This one just gives a creature defender, and then you can pay 2 to exile an enchanted creature if its power is less than or equal to the number of colors among permanents you control. It is removal. It's not great though. I honestly think the question is, I'm not playing a second Martyrize, let's be honest. I'd rather pick the Held in Contempt. I don't think I'm playing the Held in Contempt. I will take the Capital Maglev. Big creature is nice. +2, -1, and Menace seems fine. Not sure I want it right away. We'll just put it in the sideboard for now. Oh, I'm sorry. I just kicked my cat, and I'm really sorry, sweetie. She has a tendency to just crawl under the tables here. Combat Corporal. A 2/1 Vigilance for 2 that you can tap to tap. I like tap 3 on tap creatures. That was a very fun mechanic in, I believe, I want to say Midnight Hunt, but it could have been Crimson Vow. I don't remember which. That's going in the sideboard, and we are picking up our first Reminder card, which is also hitting the board. So Ignited Soul, Held in Contempt. Not something I'm looking to main board right away, though. +2, -1 Menace is the kind of card you want to slap on some huge thing here. Turn it into a 7/1 that forces things. We'll see. You know, it's all right on like Urban Twin Motors, 4/2 double strike, but I'm usually iffy on things that require me. Like these auras are an iffy thing. I definitely want to ensure that most of my cards don't require additional cards to be on the field. A cool thing there, you might have noticed that the packs get distributed out. I think that's a pretty new addition. I don't remember that happening a few weeks ago. So a lovely little animation. I think it actually makes it quite interesting. It kind of like heightens the thing. Problem is here, everything here is, again, not in our colors. And we have some lovely stuff. We have Judge, Jury, and Executioner, and Advisor, Citizen, Assassin, which is, this is, mwah, chef's kiss. The kind of card I like to see. 3/2 with approval, you exile a creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of colors among permanents you control, and then you search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name. Great card, definitely not something that we are playing in this deck. Security Initiative is another policy where we want to have non-land permanents become tapped outside of combat, and eventually it will turn into Surveillance State where you can cast spells as though they had flash, and when we cast spells, we may tap or untap. Great card. Unfortunately, not what we're doing. Menace here is actually probably more along the lines of what we're doing. It's a 2/1 Menace where a target creature with power 4 or less can't be blocked. Oh, 4 or less. Now I'm suddenly a little less high on it. Still a 2/1 Menace for 2. Might still pick it. Penwrath Ambassador might actually be what I want here. Counters are always neat. Test Subject Alpha is actually quite nice as well. If I had a Mana Dork or something, I would definitely take that first. Basic Land Cycling, I believe we already picked up one of these. I'm actually going to move it over here to the Basic Land Cycling slot just for now. I have a feeling we can get these to wheel a little more. I'm actually kind of interested in Test Subject Alpha as a 3/3 with Trample as a base, and then we can move those counters onto something that needs them. Menace 2/1 is fine, and, you know, it can really push a lot of damage through. I'm wondering if I'm... Okay, you know what? I like Test Subject Alpha. I think I want... The problem is I'm not technically playing black right now. I'm playing green-red and then going for that white here for the Urban Twin. You know what? I think we're going to just stay here. We're going to stay the course. Test Subject Alpha it is. Alright, what do we have here? Assault Engine. Oh, that's the kind of vehicle that looks great. We got a haste 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, you gain control of a creature and untap it, and we sack it at the beginning of the next end step. That's a very strong removal that leaves behind a pretty interesting body. Revolutionary Throng is a trample 2/3 when attacks gets bigger, and it's the kind of deck that we are playing. This is the one that teaches things trample, though. So, you know, both of these are nice. Someone in Esper is having the time of their lives, or should I say Tyrell. I actually think Revolutionary Throng is what I want. This has a lot of great abilities. If you control a creature with lifelink, we don't have lifelink, but I love seeing spells that gain lifelink. Pledge here is not quite where we are. So, you know, we're going to probably look to bring back Demolition Team, Throng, maybe one of the lands here, like Congressional Chamber, but not a lot for us in the pack. I want to be careful that we're not wedging. I mean, of course, we could, you know, this is playable even without lifelink. This is fine, but Throng is kind of what we're doing here. Oh, what do we have here? A 3/2 for 3 where a creature spells cost 3 less. So you know that's going to be a downside. Other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional haste counter and decayed counter on them. Probably not what we want. What I do like here is Insurgency Mentors, a 5/4 trample that whenever it attacks, we teach an attacking creature with lesser power trample, pushing things through. We've also got more teach trample. Whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability, put a counter on it. Okay, we're starting to have something come together here. Targets. We have Pledge can be a target. Let's keep that open. I like that. It's very smart to have this as the reminder card because you can just reference it real quick. I love it. Yeah, it gives +2/+2. That would be the target, so that would count. I just think that right now this would work. This would work. Must be blocked if able. Equipment, I believe. Equipping would be the target. Okay, we have a few things. This card is just really nice, though. 5/4 trample that gives... I'm willing to run the risk and pull Insurgency Mentor here and then hope to find Rogue Justiciar. So let's go with that. Keeping an eye on it. Not looking for a second Maglev, that's for sure. The Baton creates a 1/1 creature token, then attaches itself to it, so it's a 2/3 that gives Vigilance. I actually kind of like that here. Vigilance 1/3 that can tap, equally nice. Banner for Hire, mana from a non-land. This is very nice. Unfortunately, at 5 and a non-land and a 5/3 and our 5 slots, I actually think I want the Baton. Alright, more Held in Contempt, not what we want. Ram Through is nice. The creature has trample, we deal excess damage. That's exactly the kind of removal that we want. However, we have Instigating Directive and Disestablishmentarianism. So, activated abilities of other artifacts can't be activated, and we can simply pay 1, sack it to destroy. Okay, well, that would be a sideboard card, so I'm not going to grab it. But this one would be Choose a creature you control. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player this turn, we draw that many cards. If red was spent to cast it, it gains trample. And if white was spent to cast it, it gets +1/+1. I'm actually more interested in the ram through right now. This one that sacks a creature to teach something menace is interesting. When it dies, if it wasn't blocking, exile the card. There's okay, things can come back to us. And we have return a creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield tapped here is equally nice. But I think ram through as removal is going to be important, especially one that functions with our deck. Vertical integration. We can tap any number of untapped creatures, and it gives a creature +X/+Y, where X is the combined power and Y is the combined toughness. Look, this is the kind of card that I want in a trample deck. It is silly, and I want it. So I'm taking vertical integration. Now let's look for a few more creatures. Haste Trample 4/1 for 4. Okay, it's mini ball lightning here. Really interesting little card. Costs less. I'm actually more looking for the Retaliatory Outburst, I think, here as a 4 damage to target tapped creature. Where are we at? 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not necessarily running this, like I said. This one of these is technically a creature. This is also technically a creature, so let's actually move it up. You know, if I move this back here, now it looks like we have a lot less. Things aren't instant sorceries. I like this card. I'm not sure this would be like the first card I throw into my deck. I'm actually going to take a Retaliatory Outburst first. Survival of the Richest. When it enters a battlefield, something gets +2/+2. If we get a creature with power 4 or greater, and if we control a creature with toughness 4 or greater, we get Free Market. Whenever you attack, double target attacking creatures' power and toughness. Let's see how easy it is to meet that. We've got some 4s, we have some 3s, we have an equipment that gives +1/+2, and we have an equipment that gives +2/+0. I'm fine with that. Anything else in the pack is, yeah, let's just take Survival of the Richest. We're looking all right. We're looking all right. Crew 3 is easy to trigger, obviously. Like, we have some 3s here, stuff that grows, and then we can turn this into an 8/7 and start hitting in. But it's still on the cutting block, you know. It doesn't do anything yet, and we don't exactly have the treasure density that I'm looking for right now. We're only midway through pack 2, and already we're looking pretty good. I love how 3-color sets kind of give you that flexibility to really pick up a lot of cards that would see your deck. Like, obviously, Ferris Foreman could be a card that we could cut. Right now, I'm going to look for a few lands. Hopefully, a few can come up. Nothing here for us. I think this one will actually be a Change Allegiances for the sideboard. Bringing back an artifact or enchantment will not happen much, I believe, for us right now. But definitely the Destroy Artifact or Enchantment is likely to be relevant. So I'll take an Allegiances, and that's going to go in the sideboard for now. Nothing great for us here. These are... I feel this card is really good. I'm surprised maybe someone's just not in blue. I mean, Codename Spider is still going around. But, you know, 2 colors off of what we're doing is not where we want. There's no way I play a second Ignited Soul. I think I'm just going to cut somebody off of... I almost feel like I would rather cut off People of Estranged Aristocrat here. We're going to throw that in the sideboard for now. And there is a world where we cut the white, for example. Baton Outburst can easily be cut. We can go just red-green, which would just be focusing on the trample 4 powers matter rather than just power matters. It would be very easy to do. So we definitely have more of a red-green bent right now, but I will happily play things like a 2/3 that can then, a 2/3 Vigilance that can then give other things that Vigilance. So, very much happy right now. Alright, so still waiting on a few packs. I guess we can read a few of the cards that we haven't had a chance to read yet, like Political Prisoner, a 3/3 Defender for 2. Approval, you can attack as though it didn't have Defender as long as the number of colors among permanents we control is greater than the number of colors among permanents the defending player controls. I do wish this was greater or equal to, because if you both get to 5, I believe neither of you are greater, which doesn't feel great. We can take Diplomatic Alliance here. I'm not sure I'm playing it. It's a double +2/+2 aura for 5. It seems a bit slow. It seems a bit risky. Seems like it has a big blowout potential. Thankfully, we can choose new targets, so it's not totally going to fizzle, but it's not the card that I'm looking at right now. There's so much blue being passed to us. Flash Flying 3/3, a 2/2 for 4, taps and puts a bunch of stun counters based on approval. A decayed researcher minion. Okay, this is the kind of flavor I like. And then you can exile it from your graveyard to bring back instants and sorceries. That's not horrible. I am not playing a second Capital Maglev. I'll take the expendable researcher and stick it here. I might play Battlefield Tacticians. We can sacrifice if we can get some 1/1s or some tokens. We can sacrifice them and give some of our scary stuff menace. And I'll take the second Ferris Foreman here. All right. They play well together. They play very well together. Each one giving each other +2/+2. All right, let's put Election Fraud in the sideboard. That's kind of sad to see. And pick up our second reminder card. Moving straight away into this pack here. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp, a mountain, and a forest. So we're not going a swamp, so this is just a red-green tap land. Invisible Slums is technically better for what we want. I'm just going to make sure there's nothing, because I'm seeing some interesting stuff here before I go for the lands. I would like to pick up a bit of fixing, even though we are mostly red-green with some basic land cycling, where we're going to want at least a piece or two. It's a 0/3. Oh, we lost a player. He'll probably be back momentarily. It gets +X/+0, where X is the greatest power among other creatures we control and can't be blocked by creatures with lesser power. I really think I want a Co-Conspirator. I don't think I got a chance to pick up one of the other ones last time. This is a 6/6 for 6. When it enters the battlefield, we gain a bunch of life. Nice. The Bouncer for hire we already saw as removal. This is a nice 2/1 that makes a 1/1 robot or a treasure. Would be a nice card to come back. Not sure it will. I would actually play this flying 1/1 with Surveil 1. That's never horrible. Taps creatures. Expensive, but again, costs less for our colors. I would actually probably want Debt Collectors as a card. The question is, do I want it more than I want Co-Conspirators right now? Tough question. This one gets big, but again, we have a lot of things that are big like that. This is just a really nice card. You can just keep making treasure tokens. I'm actually going to take Debt Collectors first, and then we're going to maybe come back and try and grab some of something like Co-Conspirators. We have our big beats already. This is the kind of card that we're missing that holds the fort, and then creating those treasures every turn boosts our Foremans, gets us better to Scourge of Capitalism, helps us with our hired shot. Yeah, I think I've persuaded myself. It's a mono green card anyway for what we want. Another Twin Motors is really nice. +3/+2 trample could be nice on the wheeling back. I'm not sure we need to pick it right now. A Vigilance 2/3. Yeah, we don't have the blue for it yet. 3/3 for 3 that pledges, and then you can sacrifice a Clique to pledge. So essentially you can switch on over to a different... you crack one of your Cliques and you can pledge to a different one. That's interesting. I quite like that. That's unique. Anesthesiologist we had seen in a previous pack, but I hadn't read it out. It is a 2/3 that whenever it attacks, you teach it lifelink, and then you would give it +1/+1 counters from then on. A lot of stuff at the higher numbers. I really think that if we're going to be playing some 4-drops, Urban Twin Motors is really scary, and I'm going to keep taking them. If some of those other cards come back, I will be very happy. So there's Demolition Team. I've been talking about it for a few packs. I'd be happy to grab one right now. Hazak Commandos. We have to sack a creature or pay 2, so again, it's a bit expensive. Inciter costs 5. I think we can actually wheel that. Flags on High gives us 2 soldiers for 2 as an enchantment, and we can sack it to give a creature +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. I actually quite like that. I quite like that a lot. But we are more on the tall than the wide, so I will stick to my guns here, and I will pick up Demolition Team. We're already at 25, so this is where I start cutting things like Martyrize, Capital Maglev. I think I want to keep the removal here, and we're really low on the white. We might be able to just cut the white, so let's keep that in mind. Up and Comer is a 1/3 that lets us discard cards and draw. Probably not where we are right now. I think now I could take my first Proletarian Rabble. It's not the card that excites me the most, because, chances are it'll just die into something. But if I see it as a removal, I'm not, I guess, unhappy to play it. And since we're kind of leaning slightly off of white, I think I can take the Rabble here. Okay, Invisible Slums finally is back. Then, of course, we have a Distributive Justice. Distribute 3 counters among creatures you control for 4. You control 3 or more creatures with the same power, 3 or more creatures with the same toughness, and we get Equality. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control have base power equal to the greatest base power among creatures you control. And base. We're actually not that much of a wide deck. I have a feeling this is going to be trickier to get going than it would first appear. And the Trample Haze Decayed is cute, but probably not what I want. I think I'm just going to take the Invisible Slums here and up the amount of cards that we are definitely playing in our deck. Sideboard for now, just so I keep an eye on how many cards are currently in my deck, which is 23. I realize I had one of these still lying around. So we are likely going to want 17 lands because our curve is a little bit more on the high end. I'm going to move this back down here to the 2 slot as a basic land cycling, more so than the creature. We definitely have plenty of creatures. So at this point, maybe looking to cut that white. Rabble is an easily cuttable card. Bulk bioengineering. We can't cast non-creatures, and our creature spells cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures we control. Well, okay. Whew. Let's talk about it. We would have to cut this, essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We would be entirely reliant on our creatures, which would take out 3 of our pretty decent removal. I'd be pretty sad, I think. And costing less... Nothing like the problem is we have things that cost just 1, which won't really work. You know what? It's nice for Scourge of Capitalism. We've only got 1 of them. I think I'm fine on that. We'll pass here for now. Now I'm considering between International Development as a pledge that gives 2 mana of different colors, which again being, you know, kind of fixing that we need, or the Open Air Boardwalk as our second land. I think whichever one I pick, I'm definitely not getting the other one back. Tough choices, and the basic land cyclers definitely can't find those. I almost think I'd just rather have the land here. Green again would give us the treasure, the +2/+2, or the counter. So like we have good ideas going on here. It's 2 mana of different colors, which definitely helps with the fit. I think I'll take International Development, at least just 1. Mana Harvesters. Oh my gosh. Mana Harvesters and Debt Collectors. I think now I take another Mana Harvesters. I'd rather have a 2-drop that can sometimes untap, because if we can go 1/2 into something like Urban Twin Motors and untap both, that's really nice. We're at 25, so we're looking for our first card to cut here. I do want this early pledge. I think it might be Baton or Rabble. I think I'll cut Rabble, actually. Seems a little on the lower value end. Yes, there was a Rogue Justiciar, but that mana is more important. And again, I can easily see myself cut the white, especially if we're finding some more red-green. Out with a bang. Creature gets +2/+2, gains whenever it's dealt damage. You may have it fight target creature you don't control. Then it fights target creature you don't control. Okay, that's really cool. But we have another vertical integration. Oh, no. And it's an instant speed is the thing. The thing with Out with a Bang that's nice is +2/+2, so it'll survive something. You punch something, and then it'll punch something else, and then it just starts, you know, clearing out the board. So it's kind of board wipe-ish. You know what? In a real-life situation... If it was like just FNM or locals. Like, excuse me, miss. 1 second. My cat wants to play with paper, and I don't want her to. Go away. Go away. Out with a Bang is just the more fun card, I'd say. In vertical integration, we have the 1. I'm just going to take Out with the Bang. Like, this is what we've been building up to. So I'm okay keeping in the white. We might cut something else. Maybe like a Battlefield Tactician or something, or... We'll see. We'll see what else comes up. Co-Conspirators is back. Resourceful Hireling is back. I almost feel like I prefer the Hireling over the Co-Conspirator now, even though they're both at the 3. I think the treasure in that ramp is going to be important. I'll take the Resourceful Hireling. I think here I'm going to take Reckless Jailbreak. I'm going to cut the Jailbreak, though. 26 cards. We're cutting a few things. I still think I can get this to trigger. So now we're looking more into the creatures. So really our weakest stuff, let's go with Tacticians out for now. I don't really have stuff that I want to sacrifice at the moment. Want to up our Trample. I definitely don't want to cut all my 2-drops. 2-drops are important. All right, let's take the Commando, cut that. Retortion, cut that. Yeah, I know this technically is playable, but we'll never play the front face. And I don't want to rely on it too much. I'm not cutting the Scourge. The Scourge is too interesting. I really want to play. I'm sad I don't have a 1-drop, though. But, you know, it is what it is. Maybe it's just this baton. Like, +1/+2 and Vigilance is nice in the later game, but I feel like cutting out just a little bit of the white. I mean, we're going to need the white for some of our good stuff, but I'm not unhappy to cut it. Could also just be the Ferris Formans. I mean, it's a 2/2 and a 2/2. It's not unplayable, and every time we make a treasure, they grow. Kind of want to keep that there. All right, we're wrapping up here. Yep. Not much left. Not one of my other cats causing a mess somewhere else in the house, so I'll have to go back and figure out what he's doing. Give me a second. We're just going to go and hunt down the cat and see what's going on. He was trying to get into the snack bag, and I told him no. So, we had a player who disconnected, so they'll be back shortly. I think this is about as good as I think we're gonna get this deck to feel. I'm happy with it. Like, obviously, there's a few changes we can make. Like, Tactician is definitely not horrible, especially because it can become a 4/3 menace. And it's nice on things like the twin motors. Maybe the Formans are not what we want. It's just that, yeah, we're relying on something like the Debt Collectors, but if I cut these two, I can put back in Battlefield Tactician and the Baton, ironically enough, which I think the Baton is actually better than the Ferris Formans are going to be in our deck. We aren't making quite enough robots or treasures. I think that's going to be what I do. Other people could disagree. They could stick with the robots. I think I'm going to put them in the side for now. I think these synergize more with what we're doing. And we're back. Oh my gosh, we have bulk bind. So, not playing it, but I would take it. Let's stick that here in the sideboard. Not playing the Broodmother, which lets us surveil. And we're not playing this second here. So we're done drafting. We have an Invisible Slum here as our only land. I know. There were options to get some others. Not quite as much as I expect, but we have 2 mana harvesters. We have a resourceful hireling and a debt collector. So, you know, if I were to put these aside real quick, we actually have quite a few ways. Pledge lets us get treasures. Basic land cycling lets us fix. And then international here lets us do that. So in the end, we have quite a bit of fixing. I'm not upset. I think this is fine. So let's put these back where they go. That way our friend, and that would be our deck. 3 plains, 5 mountains, 7 forests seems about what we want. Especially that we can go get the plains, and we never need more than just 1 plain at a time. Maybe I could say, no, I don't think 4 is fine. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We definitely have a lot more of the green, and the green is what's going to give us the white. So this is what we would run. If I put that into, let's just change the layout to 2 rows, and we're just going to grab a nice little screen cap for our friend here on the Discord. And we are going to respect the name. This is Penwrath Insurgency. And it's definitely a trample deck. And there we go. So yeah, I really enjoyed this set. I talked a little bit about what I liked as we went, but I can talk a little bit more about what I enjoy. I actually think Cliques is really fun. I know not everybody likes these sort of mechanics that have a reminder card that needs to do its share of the weight. But to be fair, this is just reminding you what the Clique tokens itself have. And, you know, I like the idea of being able to go to either 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't feel like it's so many choices that it's impossible to figure out. I like the different ways of pledging. I like the fact that then you can always pay 4 to get the ability. I'm interested in what I'm seeing. I can definitely say that our red, green, and white definitely felt like rebels. Obviously, it helps that we have soldiers and rebels and citizens. We really look like the was it free market and anti-establishment. So I love the idea of just these big, beefy top ends tramples that are just plowing through everything, invisible slums. So flavor-wise, it's a hit. I'm really loving the set. For those of you who don't know, I am a council member on MSEM, which is a custom Magic format. It is the largest one, and there's a sister format called Revolution, which is more of a standard format that there exists on another server. But I would not be unhappy to have this set in any of those formats. These are cards that I would like to play. Of course, there's not a lot of cards that were popping up that I would say are like, constructed. I'm immediately looking to play these, but I can see a world where something interesting like Mana Harvester is the kind of mana dork that can actually tap for 2, and it's a 2-drop. You play a multicolored spell, you untap, you cast another one. Thankfully, it doesn't go infinite. Real quick, I didn't pick up a lot of the rares. Out with a Bang is just flavorful. I like these policy cards. The 3-color cards feel great. The land cycling feels fantastic. We didn't I could see a deck trying to play bulk bioengineering, with a bunch of colorless artifacts, right? This is the kind of card that would be interesting to play with. The interesting thing, though, is once you land it, you can't cast non-creature spells. But as long as it's your only one, you're probably doing fine. Yeah, there's a Strange Aristocrat really spoke to me. I quite liked it as one of the pledge cards that I saw. I'd be happy to draft this set again and again and again and try new things. Chances are you will see that happen because I will be trying to do these draft streams a lot more often, especially at this period. So anywhere between 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern here on Twitch. And then afterwards, I will be putting them up on my YouTube channel where you can always catch the stream afterwards. So thanks for sticking around with me. We're just going to give one last quick look here. See what else we could have found. Big mana, more of the districts. I don't think there were any lands at uncommon, or at least none that I saw. There were some legends, so yeah, each one of them had a legend. So we didn't find, let's see what we didn't find. Storm the Senate. For each creature you control, give +3/+3 and trample or fights. This is the kind of card I would have loved to see. Mondo. Trample 2/3 when attacks, you get soldiers that are tapped and attacking, and then it gets +X/+. These would have been great, obviously. Metropolitan Champion would have been cool, I think. It's a 5/4 trample with creatures with trample must be blocked. So, yeah, these would have been cool cards to see, but I am not unhappy. Anything else here that we did not see? Oh, well, that's nice. A 2-drop that makes a tap treasure and then you pledge. Yeah, I would have played that card. There's some nice stuff. Again, I'm not going to look into everything. We saw quite a decent chunk of the format, but as I said, I like keeping things fresh. If you want to learn more about the set, you can go look into the show notes for this video, and you'll be able to find links to the set as soon as StasisBot hooks me up with that, and some more information on the set. So thanks again for following along. I hope you enjoyed this. I know we had essentially no viewers today, but for those of you on YouTube, I appreciate you watching through, and I hope this has been informative. And I hope that StasisBot, the designer, appreciates and enjoys it. So take care, have a good one, everyone, and catch you next time.